Good morning, I'm WaywornWyrm, and welcome to my channel. And welcome back to Space is Wide and Good Friends Are Too Few, Episode 8. Through the Ross 128 Jump Point. Rear Admiral Lily McQuay was livid, to say the least. God damn, Oscar Holloway. He is responsible for this gigantic fuck-up. If he hadn't fired on that ship, especially before we could communicate with them, then their second probe into our solar system wouldn't have included warships. As far as I'm concerned, the 189 men and women who died on the Cani and the Lucifer, their deaths should be laid at his feet, as well as the lives of whoever ends up dying before we finish this goddamn war. Commander Benny Lautenbach placidly sat there, letting his boss take a breath before commenting. Dad suggests it was a gravitational survey ship. However she had imagined the seconds that she had taken to breathe normally again would go, Benny's reply certainly was not it. What? She finally got out. Benny, who had been waiting for that exact response, began. The Audacious class. We believe it is a class of gravitational survey capability. Telemetry later revealed that the ship was on a direct course to the nearest gravitational survey point in our solar system when it was fired on. Given that that course was tangential to both the solar system and back to the jump point, while being within the margin of error, perfectly matched to go to the nearest survey point, so my department and Rear Admiral Cape's department deduced it must be a gravitational survey craft. Lily was confused. Her anger making it hard to connect whatever dots her intelligence director was trying to make. What difference does it make what kind of ship it was? Benny shrugged. Maybe a lot, maybe a little. Right now, we have 6 systems, not including Sol, that we know of and have access to. As far as we know, the People's Republic of Anarch Zeta only know of one of those systems. If we let them violate our space and find all of them, they would start competing with us in those systems. And that goes down a rabbit hole that I'm sure is unacceptable. If that wasn't all enough, there is more. The Amazon class is a class that is built very similarly to the Audacious. Same size, same speed. Everything we could get on it, except for a few small details, matched the Audacious. In fact, if it weren't for these small details in the electromagnetic signature of the ship, our computers would have probably labeled it an Audacious-class ship. In fact, it is still theoretically possible that they are just widely divergent representations of the same class, but probably not. This is important because the Enterprise and the Spruance class ships, are gravitational and geological survey ship classes respectively, are exactly the same, except the Enterprise has gravitational survey sensors, while the Spruance has geological survey sensors. Add in the third fact that the Amazon 001 was heading in roughly the direction of the asteroid 1996 T066, one of 3 asteroids that are the nearest to the jump point. I think we can easily conclude that the Amazon is a geological survey ship and was here to discover where Trans-Newtonian elements are located in the Sol system in an attempt to set up mining of our system. Benny was right, of course, at least as far as Lily was concerned. This war was probably unavoidable. This may be the way of things in space. Aliens might not understand the rule of law like humans did. She dismissed Benny and looked at her clock. The rest of the Earth Federation fleet should be at the jump point now. She picked up her phone, and as soon as Commander Stefan Castilla, head of fleet operations, answered, she simply said, "Order the 3 task groups through the jump point. We will bring this fight to them. Monitor the situation and make sure the Earth defense platforms are at yellow alert, ready to go to red." And with that, the war jumped into a new phase. Or rather, it would jump into a new phase a few hours later when the commands, traveling at light speed, reached the task groups. It took 5 seconds for the sensors to clear up enough to give an idea of what was going on to the fleet. In that time, the Cambrai was hit by some unknown number of railgun bullets and jumped back through the jump point as it was almost completely crippled. The other 3 task groups started following the ship that had fired, hoping to get it back into range. It would take another 10 seconds for the sensors to clear enough to get a weapons lock on the Swift Shore 001. By the time the lasers of the Earth Federation fleet shot toward the Swiftsure, 20 railgun bullets were on their way to the Kali, which would not survive the battering. The Swiftsure would survive the attack, but its active sensor would be destroyed. The Bunker Hill task group, having jumped rather far from the jump point, took another 5 seconds to get into range, and because of that delay, the fleet was able to keep constant firing on the Swiftsure. When the 4 ships that had jumped closer to the jump point fired again, the Swiftsure opened up with 7 atmosphere venting holes being spotted. The Bunker Hills volley hit as the Swiftsure reversed course and started heading toward the jump point, opening up 6 more holes to space as a small secondary explosion was recorded. The entire battle took less than 30 seconds, and the Earth Federation had overwhelming numerical advantage. But a choice lay before Captain Oscar Holloway, the senior officer in system. He could continue on and try to fight his way to space supremacy, or he could order his ships to camp out here on the jump point, or he could retreat and hold on the Sol side. He went to his ready room and started a secure video link to Captain Alfonso Wandawalker on the Chancellorville. "Al, what are we going to do?" he began, asking his second-in-command for his opinion. "Send the ball home for one. Between the second battle and this one, we've lost an entire task group's worth of ships, a quarter of our fighting fleet, and have another task group's worth in desperate need of repairs spread between what at least was 2 task groups. Oscar, with 2 ships, these aliens have put half of our entire fleet out of commission." Oscar nodded, looking at the grim face on the screen in front of him. "Yes, and we'll have the ball pick up the Kali's surviving crew. Honestly, we need better armor or something against these railguns. They just chew us up. And it doesn't help that the 2 combat ships we have faced have been so large, with so many of those damned railguns. It is also 2 battles in a row where we survived because early on in the fight we killed their active sensors and then pounded on the ship until it exploded. If the sensor had stayed on the entire time, the ball would be gone. And given that they seem to target our jump ships first, the Chancellorville would most likely also be gone." Alfonso shrugged. "I'm not sure it matters what we do, Oscar. Even working full speed, I'm sure it will be a minimum of 2 years before we have combat-ready replacements for the ships we've lost. Even if we hold both task groups on our side of the jump point, They will occasionally send a ship through and will whittle away at us slowly. But also, we don't know what kind of fleet they have in system. If it's more than one ship, we won't have a chance. Remember, they are faster than we are, so if we get into an engagement that we can't win, we're dead. Oscar nodded once again, acknowledging everything his subordinate was saying. Alfonso was right with everything he had said, of course. Humanity had been pushed to a brink, and Oscar was unsure if anyone not in Ross 128 realized how close to the brink they actually were. Earth was unlikely to fall to these aliens. It had quite the array of defense platforms that had both outdated missiles and the newest of the laser guns. But humans might become contained to the planet for a while. Maybe the moon, depending on how accurate these missiles could be. They had the time to rebuild, and the materials. Rebuilding would happen, and they would get off the ropes they were currently on. But here was a chance, a gamble, to make sure no one would ever know how close to the brink humans came in their early days of space exploration. In Oscar's mind, there was only one choice to make, only one option he could possibly take. We're going in system. We have to take the chance and at least cause them damage that they can't easily recover from. There's a decent chance I am consigning us to die, but we have to try. Alfonso nodded grimly at what Oscar said. Very shortly afterwards, the video call was disconnected, and Oscar sat down at his desk to begin writing up what he would tell the fleets. Thank you so much for listening to the 8th episode of Space is Wide and Good Friends Are Too Few. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the next episode of The Monster Manual Backward.